They laughed when they pushed me off the van. I still hear it, Claire's high-pitched cackle cutting through the cold air like a razor. Happy birthday, loser. Then the van doors slammed shut. Tires screeched. Silence. I was standing on a dirt road in God knows where, blindfolded, hands zip-tied behind my back, and one damn balloon duct taped to my chest that read, Birthday Boy. For a split second, I thought it was part of some surprise getaway. Maybe she'd rented a cabin. Maybe this was the beginning of something wild and unforgettable. It was. Just not the kind of unforgettable you want burned into your soul. When I finally chewed the blindfold down and looked around, fields. No houses. No cars. No phone. And definitely no Claire. That was the moment I knew something was wrong. Really wrong. Not funny wrong. Not prank wrong. Sick wrong. Hours passed. I started walking. A guy at a gas station 20 miles out let me borrow his phone. Claire didn't answer. Her best friend Lauren blocked me. I called my buddy Trent. He thought I was drunk dialing. When I finally made it home the next day, after hitching a ride with a trucker named Gus who smelled like sadness and diesel, I unlocked the door and found the note on the fridge. You take life too seriously. Learn to laugh. It was just a prank. See you tomorrow. Zoxo, Claire Kissmark. No apology. No explanation. Just lipstick on a sticky note like she was leaving me a shopping list. The house was trashed. Wine bottles, stilettos, makeup scattered like debris after a storm. Judging by the mess and that one bra hanging off the chandelier like a trophy, I knew what kind of party had gone down while I was marooned in the middle of nowhere. They celebrated my birthday without me. Correction, they celebrated it by ditching me like trash. I sat on the edge of our bed, heart pounding. I kept staring at the closet, picturing her hands all over someone else, her voice whispering things she'd never said to me anymore. And I knew. This wasn't just a prank. This was the tip of the blade she'd been twisting into me for months. You don't just humiliate someone like that unless you've already stopped loving them. Or worse. You never loved them at all. So I did what any man would do when the ground falls out beneath him. I dug. Into her phone. Into her cloud backups. Into the shadows I'd been too blind to see for years. First clue? A folder on her Google Drive named Yoga Retreats. Inside? A video. Claire. In a hotel suite. In Paris. With a guy named Damien. Not a retreat. A retreat from our marriage. She was straddling him in lingerie I bought her for our anniversary 2 years ago. And she moaned his name like it was a hymn. Like it saved her. Like I never existed. I dropped the phone. Sat there. Frozen. Breathing in short, broken gasps. My skin was hot, cold, then numb. Like my soul was hemorrhaging and all I could do was watch it die on the carpet. She came home later that night like nothing happened, wearing that fake innocent smile, carrying a bottle of champagne. Lighten up, babe. You should have seen your face. I didn't punch the wall, didn't scream, didn't cry. I just looked at her. Really looked. And for the first time in 6 years, I didn't see my wife. I saw a stranger. A con artist wrapped in perfume and pearls. A woman who used laughter like a scalpel. And I whispered, "Why, Damien?" Her face changed. Just for a moment. Like I'd reached behind her mask and touched the raw nerve. Then she laughed. Again. "Jesus, you hacked my stuff? What are you, 12? That was from ages ago. It didn't even mean anything. Didn't mean anything. I should have left then. But I didn't. You want to believe the devil you love is just misunderstood. You want to believe maybe there's still a flicker of the woman you married. But Claire? Claire had poured gasoline on our wedding vows and lit them with her lipstick-stained lighter. And I was just now realizing I'd been standing in the fire for years, smiling like a fool. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat there in the dark, watching her breathe beside me like nothing had happened. The rise and fall of her chest felt like a taunt. She curled up under the covers in that silk nightgown I used to love, and I wondered how many other men had watched it slide off her shoulders while I was home making dinner or folding laundry. By 4 a.m., I was in the garage with a bottle of whiskey and my laptop, digging deeper. Messages, emails, photos. There wasn't just Damien. There was a Greg, a Sam, even a T, probably that tattooed guy she once swore was just a coworker. They weren't just cheating hookups. They were patterns. Rot. An infestation under the floorboards of our marriage. And I'd been too in love, or too damn loyal, to look down. Every message screamed something different. "You make me feel alive again. He's so boring. I can't wait to see you tonight. I'll say I'm at spin class." Spin class. That explained the $200 a month gym membership and the fact that I hadn't seen a single change in her body. What she was really working on wasn't her waistline, it was an alibi. I printed everything. I don't know why. Maybe part of me wanted to lay it all out in front of her like a police interrogation. Maybe I needed proof that I wasn't crazy, that this wasn't just a bad dream or paranoia twisting my mind. Morning came, and she walked into the kitchen like a sitcom wife. Cute yawn. Morning, babe, like she hadn't just stabbed me 100 times the night before. I laid the stack of papers on the table. Didn't say a word. She looked down, flipping the first few pages. The smirk cracked. For once, Claire had no words. No jokes. No laughs. Just silence. I finally broke it. How long? She looked up slowly. Does it matter? I laughed. Actually laughed. A short, bitter exhale that surprised even me. That's your answer? Claire sat down, crossed her legs, folded her arms like a lawyer prepping a closing statement. You've been distant for years. You come home, eat, work, sleep. You never touch me anymore. Oh, so it's my fault you've been out playing bedroom roulette with half the zip code? She rolled her eyes. I didn't say that. But maybe if you hadn't turned into such a boring, predictable robot. I slammed my fist down. She flinched. Good. You left me blindfolded in the middle of nowhere as a prank. AF *** king joke to you and your hyena friends. It was supposed to be funny. You're the one who made it a thing. God, you're so dramatic. She really said that. With a straight face. Like abandoning your husband in a foreign country was something you could laugh off over brunch. That's when I knew this wasn't a marriage. It was a war I'd been losing for years without realizing I was on a battlefield. I stood up, heart pounding so hard I felt it in my teeth. I want you out. Today. She blinked. You're serious? As a heart attack. Claire laughed again, but it was nervous now. Offbeat. Where am I supposed to go? Try Damien. Or Greg. Or maybe T. I'm sure one of them has a free couch. I walked upstairs. Packed her stuff. Every shoe, every dress, every fake little trophy she used to make herself feel superior. I left her the garbage bags. Let her do the dragging. When I came back down, she was sitting on the couch, texting furiously. Probably calling reinforcements. She looked up and said, You're gonna regret this. You're never gonna find someone like me again. And I looked her dead in the eye and said, That's the point. She left that afternoon. Slammed the door so hard the picture frame of our wedding fell off the wall. Fitting. I left it there. Shattered glass and all. A monument to what used to be. The days that followed were strange. Quiet. Too quiet. I'd walk into the kitchen expecting a sarcastic comment, or that scent of her perfume poisoning the air. Nothing. Just me, and the ghost she left behind. But the pain didn't stay pain. Not forever. Pain turned into fuel. And I started running. I stopped drinking. Stopped scrolling through our old pictures. Stopped trying to figure out which version of Claire was ever real, the woman who kissed me goodnight for 6 years or the woman who whispered lies into other men's ears with that same mouth. Instead, I poured myself into work. 12-hour days. No breaks. No distractions. Money started coming in faster than I could keep track of. Clients noticed. Investors circled. Within 8 months, I was offered a buyout. Big one. Enough to walk away and never look back. I signed the papers on a Tuesday. That Friday, I was on a flight to Santorini. Alone. First class. Glass of bourbon in one hand, peace in the other. There's something about solitude on the Aegean Sea that strips everything fake off of you. No more pretending. No more faking smiles at dinner parties while your wife is texting her trainer under the table. It was the first time I breathed in years. I rented a small villa. White walls. Blue doors. A little pool that kissed the sun every morning. And for the first time since the disaster that was Claire, I started sleeping through the night. Then one night, everything shifted. I met her. Not Claire. Not some rebound. Her name was Juliet. French-American. Fierce eyes. A voice like velvet and thunder all at once. We met at a tiny cliffside bar. I was sipping scotch, watching the sea swallow the sun, and she walked up and asked if I was from Chicago. No, I said, but I used to survive there. She smiled. Sat down. Ordered tequila. By the end of the night, I was laughing like I forgot how. Not because I had to. Because I wanted to. She didn't ask what I did for a living. Didn't care about my broken past. She asked what my favorite movie was. What kind of dog I'd get if I ever stopped pretending I didn't want one. We spent 3 weeks wrapped up in sunrises, grilled octopus, and the kind of warmth that doesn't demand anything back. And when I told her about Claire, she didn't flinch. Just said, "Some people teach you how much of yourself you were wasting." 6 months later, we were living together in Monaco. No labels. No drama. Just peace. Then one evening, while walking back from the marina, she looked at me and said, "I want to build something with you. Not just a life. A future." So we did. Fast forward to last summer. We were anchored off the Amalfi coast on a borrowed yacht, massive, ridiculous, more steel and glass than common sense. One of Juliet's friends, a billionaire tech guy, loaned it to us for a week as a wedding gift. Wedding, yes. I married her. Not because I needed someone. Because I finally met someone who didn't need to destroy me to feel powerful. We were on the upper deck when I saw the boat pull up beside us. Smaller, loud, drunk energy radiating off the group. I barely looked until I heard that laugh. Claire. She was there. With Lauren. And a few other plastic-faced banshees from our old life. She didn't recognize me at first, but I saw the moment her eyes registered who I was. She froze. Mouth open. Frozen like a woman seeing a ghost. I walked over. Calm. Confident. Wearing a linen shirt that probably cost more than our old wedding did. Juliet at my side, hand in mine. Claire stood there in her tacky bikini, holding a watered-down cocktail and years of regret in her eyes. "Ethan," she whispered. I smiled. "Claire." "Long time." She looked at Juliet. At the yacht. Then back at me. What is all this?" "Oh," I said, glancing at the champagne in my other hand. This is what happens when you get abandoned on your birthday and turn it into fuel." Her friends started whispering. Lauren had the nerve to smirk. Claire tried to chuckle. "You're kidding, right?" Juliet squeezed my hand. I didn't need to say anything else. I just raised my glass and said, "Thanks for the prank." They left 10 minutes later. Not a single word. Just silence. And God, that silence? It tasted better than any revenge. That night, Juliet and I stood at the edge of the yacht, watching the stars ripple across the sea. She didn't ask questions. She didn't have to. She knew. Her hand rested on my chest, grounding me, anchoring me in a way no one ever had. I kissed her forehead, still hearing Claire's stunned silence echo somewhere far behind us. And yet, I'd be lying if I said it ended there. That one moment, one face-off, erased everything Claire did to me. Trauma doesn't just walk away quietly. It lingers in the corners of your peace, testing it. The next morning, I got a message. From Claire. No, hi. No apology, no accountability. Just, "Saw you yesterday. You look different. Successful suits you." I stared at the message for a while. The audacity of that woman. It wasn't curiosity. It wasn't nostalgia. It was a test. A toe in the door. A hook, waiting to reel me back into her world of manipulation. I didn't respond. An hour later, she sent another. "I still think about you sometimes. About what we could have been. I was stupid. Maybe I didn't know what I had." And then the real motive. "I'm back in Nice this weekend. Maybe we could catch up." I showed Juliet the messages. She didn't flinch. She read them, handed the phone back, and said, "Only a woman who's lost something would ever write like that." I blocked Claire. But it didn't stop there. 2 days later, Lauren messaged me. Then Greg. Then some mutual friend we hadn't spoken to in 5 years. All suddenly curious. Suddenly interested in catching up. I realized what Claire was doing. She didn't want me back. She wanted the version of me that had finally escaped her. The version she couldn't own, control, or humiliate anymore. She wanted to feel powerful again, because that yacht, that woman beside me, that calm in my eyes, it reminded her that she failed. Claire always needed someone to be beneath her to feel tall. And now, I was untouchable. I wasn't just gone. I'd evolved. The old me? He would have responded. He would have met her in some cafe out of guilt, out of curiosity, out of some pathetic need for closure. But I had all the closure I'd ever need. The day she left me alone on that road, thinking it was funny. That was who she was. Who she still is. Juliet and I spent the next few months planning our move to Dubai. She had an opportunity with an international gallery, and I'd been offered a consulting deal that paid more in 6 months than Claire and I made in 3 years. But before we left France, something happened that shook me more than I expected. I bumped into Claire's mother. In a grocery store of all places. She recognized me instantly. Same disapproving eyes. Same tight jaw. Only this time, she looked tired. She walked over, slow, like she'd rehearsed the moment. "I heard you ran into Claire," she said. "I did," I replied, flat. "She's Been having a rough time. I didn't answer. I didn't care. She misses you, her mother added, almost too quietly. I shook my head. She misses the version of me that let her walk all over him. Her mother sighed, like she'd finally let a truth slip. You deserved better. You always did. That caught me off guard. I didn't need her validation, but hearing it from someone who once looked down on me like I wasn't good enough for their daughter, it hit different. As I turned to leave, she called after me. She's still not over it, you know. The yacht. The woman. The life you built. I looked over my shoulder and said, she should have thought of that before she threw it away. And then I walked out of that store, got into my car, and never looked back. The ghosts still whisper sometimes, but they don't haunt me. Not anymore. A month later, we moved into a penthouse in Dubai. High ceilings, glass walls, and a view that made every sunrise feel like a second chance. Juliet fit into that world like she was born for it. Elegant but never arrogant. Beautiful but never cruel. The opposite of everything Claire had been. One night, as we lay on the rooftop lounge watching the city blink around us, Juliet said, "You still carry it." I didn't have to ask what she meant. She was right. I did. Not because I missed Claire God, no, but because when someone poisons your trust so thoroughly, it changes you. You start looking over your shoulder in relationships, even when there's no reason to. You flinch at kindness. You dissect every smile, waiting for the knife hidden behind it. Juliet never pushed. She just held space. That's the thing about people who love you right. They don't try to fix you. They just make sure you never have to break alone again. But the past has claws. And mine wasn't done scratching. 3 weeks into our new life, I got a letter. An actual letter. Handwritten. No return address. The handwriting was familiar. I didn't need to read the signature. Claire. It started innocent enough. I'm writing because I don't know how else to reach you. I've tried to move on. I've tried to hate you. But I can't stop thinking about the day I saw you on that yacht. She went on about how seeing me like that broke her. How she finally realized what she'd done. How she hated the woman she used to be. And then, the real dagger. You look happy. But I wonder, are you? Truly? Or are you just pretending better than I ever could? I read that line over and over. It wasn't concern. It was bait. She wanted to plant a seed of doubt, the same way she always had, undermining my peace just to feel relevant. I showed Juliet the letter. She didn't react with jealousy or anger. She simply asked, "Do you want to respond?" "No," I said. But later that night, I sat at the kitchen counter, staring at the paper like it owed me something. Closure? An apology? A confession? No, that wasn't Claire's style. Claire didn't want to apologize. She wanted to matter again. And honestly, that scared me more than anything. Because I realized that as long as she existed, she'd always find a way to reach back into my life like a weed through concrete. The next day, I made a decision. Not a reaction. Not an act of revenge. Just a clean cut. I hired a private firm. Changed every point of contact, every file, every traceable piece of my digital past that connected her to me. Blocked every old mutual, shut down old email accounts, scrubbed social media. It wasn't about hiding. It was about erasing her access to the new version of me. Claire belonged to the man who begged her to come home, who cried in a bathroom stall after finding hotel receipts in her purse, who forgave and forgave and forgave until there was nothing left of himself. That man was dead, and in his place stood someone who built his own world from the ashes she left behind. A month later, Juliet and I were invited to a gala. High society, dripping diamonds, the kind of place Claire used to dream about but never had the grace to belong to. Halfway through the evening, as Juliet twirled on the dance floor with that effortless smile, a woman tapped me on the shoulder. It was Lauren. Hair thinner, eyes duller. The years had not been kind. "Ethan," she said, like she still had the right to say my name. "Well, I almost didn't recognize you." I didn't smile. "Then keep it that way." She laughed nervously. "Look, I know I was part of everything, and I just want to say I'm sorry. Claire's not in a great place these days." "Not my problem," I said flatly. She hesitated. "She's drinking. A lot." Said something about writing a book. About the yacht guy that got away. I almost laughed. Of course she did. She always needed a new spotlight, I said. Even if she had to burn bridges to get it. Lauren touched my arm. "She loved you, you know, in her own way." I looked her dead in the eyes. "No, she loved control. And I'm the only thing she ever lost that she couldn't get back." I turned, walked back to Juliet, and didn't look back. 6 months later, we were on the water again, this time the Seychelles. Quiet. undisturbed. No parties. No past. Just the hum of the sea and the gentle weight of Juliet's head on my shoulder. The sun was setting behind us, gold bleeding into dark blue, and I thought about how far I'd come. There was no more anger. No more bitterness. Just perspective. Claire had once abandoned me as a joke. Thought it would be hilarious to blindfold her husband, toss him out in the middle of nowhere, and laugh about it with her pack of vipers over cheap champagne. She never imagined I'd turn that humiliation into the beginning of my empire. She thought I'd crawl back. She thought I'd stay broken. But broken men don't stay broken forever. Sometimes they rebuild in silence. Sometimes they rise. And sometimes they sail past the very people who once laughed at them, standing tall, drink in hand, peace in their eyes, and a woman beside them who didn't need to destroy them to feel strong. I've learned this. When someone disrespects you repeatedly, it's not a mistake. It's their design. Claire didn't lose me because of one bad night or one affair. She lost me because she was never building a life, she was playing a game. You want advice? Here's mine. If someone shows you who they really are, believe them. And when they try to come back after the damage is done, don't just shut the door. Build a life so far above their reach they can't even knock. Now I live on my terms. My days are filled with sunrises and purpose. My nights with honesty and warmth. No lies. No half-love. No betrayal hiding behind mascara and a fake smile. Claire once said I'd never find someone like her again. She was right. Because I stopped looking for chaos dressed as passion. And now? Now I'm living my best life. On a billionaire's yacht. With a real woman. And all that noise behind me? It's just the echo of someone else's regret.